Yo, what is going on? Good morning. This is Andrew, known as ZERODRAWDREW, Pip Catcher Administration. Welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like this, subscribe to the channel. Keep us motivated. Put this content out every single fucking day, baby. So let's get into it. It is Sunday, December 19th, 2021. We're here with another weekly analysis. We were going to take off this week, but I just realized that we have a full trade week up until Friday, where Christmas Eve is. Saturday is Christmas, so Merry fucking Christmas, everybody. Hope we all have a fucking great week. But at the same time, you guys got to keep in mind that it is a holiday week, so it is sort of a hit or miss type of week. So I recommend, taking your 1-to-1, 2-to-1 risk reward ratio on every trade and, moving on because you don't want to mess up your holidays. So let's get into it, right? So we're going to start with GBPUSD, right? GBPUSD, if you look on the weekly chart, we've consolidated all week a little bit. Oh yeah, bear with me if you guys hear waves or whatever. I'm outside right now on a balcony. I don't have my microphone, so if the quality of this video is worse than it normally is, I apologize. Just bear with me. So we're gonna go over it still. So let's get it. GBPUSD, like I said, we have this indecisive candle on the weekly chart. Right on the daily chart. The daily chart, we had this U resistance, which I talked about in last week's analysis. The target is smashed at that 550 high. One thing that I do notice is we never took bullish liquidity above that level before we rejected hard. One thing that I do know is that on Thursday we had that pump, Friday we had that dump. So right now we are reading bearish momentum, right? But one thing about this sell-off is that it didn't really form much structure on the way down. It was just pretty much a dump from Thursday's pump. So I do think we need to get bullish liquidity before we do start to move lower. So on the daily chart, all the bullish liquidity is above, this trend line and this 750 resistance level right here. So all bullish liquidity is above that level right there. All sellers liquidity is below this 1.32200 support and the trend line below that level. So overall, I'd look for, bear traps to this level to trade towards buyer liquidity in the beginning of the week, and then wait for price action to set up somewhere above here a little bit later on. So, like I said, I think bullish liquidity is above this trend line. I think we do want to push above that trend line once sellers are fully exhausted. So I'd wait for sellers to become fully exhausted to look for that buy opportunity up to that trend line, and then just play it by day. But keep in mind that, this is a U resistance right here. So, there is a possibility that we do continue to drop because overall it is reading down. But like I said, sellers, look weak. I think we do need to get buyer liquidity before we start to move down. So look for the bear trap, trade towards buyer liquidity, which would be that 700 high, and then look to react to what you see after that. All right, so that is GBPUSD. If you guys are a little confused, like I said, like I usually do, I will, talk about the trade, and then I will, go over it, one more time at the end. So if you're a little confused now, just stick around and I'll clarify everything for you. So that was GBPUSD. Now we're on GBPJPY. We talked about this last week as well. Like I said, we were in this range on this weekly chart. We rejected. One thing that I did notice on the daily chart is we had this U formation that was forming. The target is smashed on that buy opportunity if you took it last week. We talked about this on the last week's analysis, right? So it did a similar reaction to GBPUSD. We had that U resistance. We rejected that U resistance. One thing that I do notice about that drop is it left a weak structure, right? So all buyer liquidity pretty much is above this 151.020 key resistance level. And all seller liquidity is below this 150.250 support level. So on a 15-minute chart, right, we do have this crown pattern, as you can see. I would look for bear traps below this level for the buy opportunity up to that right shoulder or the trend line resistance. You just want to react to the levels and kind of play it by day. Get 1-to-1, 2-to-1 of your risk reward, and then just move on. So like I said, seller liquidity is below this 150.250 support. All buyer liquidity is above this 159.80 resistance. So if price does drop first in the beginning of the week, I'm waiting for sellers to become exhausted down here. for the buy opportunity up to that right shoulder. Also, keep in mind and pay attention to these levels over here because you might see reactions to those levels as well. So that is GBPJPY. Seems pretty basic with GBPJPY. Might look for trades in that one because I like this better than GBPUSD right now at the moment, to be honest with you. So like I said, bear traps to that level or bull traps to that level. Alright, so that's simple. GBPJPY. And now let's move on to gold. We're only doing 3 pairs today, guys, because I have my laptop. I don't have my mouse, so it's a little hard to mark up these charts, but just bear with me and we'll get into it. So gold, similar story. If you watched last week's analysis, I talked about this daily crown pattern. If you entered this bear trap to this 1758 support level, you could have caught that move up to that right shoulder. As you can see, how many pips did that produce? 550 pips. You're welcome, guys. Okay, so that was last week. That is now we're on to this week. So let's get into it. Next move, guys. So if you want to see confirmation of these trades, of this analysis, just go in the last week's videos. You can watch that shit over. You realize that, this track record is proven. We talk about this shit every week. We've been calling shit day to day. So just go back in the track record, build the confidence, and then fucking smash these fucking trades, baby. So let's get into it, right? That was last week. Now we're into this week, right? So let's start from the beginning, right? Gold on the weekly chart. As you can see, we saw this big impulse wave from that 1759 key support as we were talking about, right? But we never fully took it out on the daily chart, which gives me reason to believe that we eventually want to take out this crown low, right? So one thing that I do notice is that all buyer liquidity is above that 1815 high right shoulder. So I do want to see bull traps above that level before I start to look for sell opportunities, but we do got to keep in mind that there is a chance that we get the sell opportunity earlier on, right? So how would we do that, right? So how would we do that, right? So all buyer liquidity, like I said, is above this 17, 15. That's the 15 right there, that thing right there. Sometimes, the structure can be a little messed up, but you get the picture. The bullish liquidity is above that 1815 high and this trend line. So if I'm looking for the short opportunity, I'm going to look for bull traps above this trend line and this 1715 high. I'm going to wait for price to come back in, and then I'm going to look to take the shorts to the levels listed, right? You guys could have, long-term targets, short-term targets, whatever type of trader you are, just go with it. But like I said, this is what I'm looking at, right? So all bullish liquidity is above this 1815 high in this trend line. So if I'm looking for sell opportunities earlier on in the week, I'm looking for that breakout and waiting for price to come back into value for that short opportunity down, right? But if you look on the daily chart now, right? Like I said, we never fully took out that high, so there's a possibility that we do take out that high. So if you look at support right here, right, that key support would be 1793, right? So if price drops in the beginning of the week and we start to, wick at that 1793 support, we might be looking for that buy opportunity up to buyer's liquidity, right? So one thing that I do notice on the hourly chart is that this is a strong trend line, right? So all sellers liquidity pretty much is below this 1793 support and this trend line. So if price drops in and then comes back out, we could look for that buy opportunity up to the levels listed. Measure your 1-to-1, 2-to-1, play it by day, and move on to the next trade. It's that simple, guys. So on a 15-minute chart, right? On a 15-minute chart, as you can see, we are reading this Gartley-like pattern. All sell liquidity is at this key support, 1790. Well, that's 1795. We might drop down to 1793, trap bears, and then come back into value and push up to those levels listed. So all buyer liquidity, pretty much is above this trend line. So you could probably see potential bull traps above that level if that happens first, right? So we're going to go based on what happens first. So if price drops first, traps bears below, we're going to look for the buy opportunity when we come back out of the trend line up to the levels listed, whatever level you guys want to trade towards, whatever you feel comfortable, however disciplined you are, however, whatever type of trader you are. I'm not at the same level as you guys, so I don't know how long you guys can hold positions. I can just give you guys the trade So this is what I would do, right? So if in the beginning of the week, say we drop to 1793 support, and then we come back out of the trend line, we gotta wait for it to come back out of the trend line first. If it just holds the trend line, it could drop. You need to wait for the confirmation, wait for it to come back out of the trend line for that bear trap to be valid, right? And then look to, trade towards the next buyer liquidity, right? All right, guys, so we're going to go over everything one more time before we wrap all this up, right? So we're going to start with GBPUSD. GBPUSD, right, on the weekly chart, we're indecisive. As you can see, we're indecisive on the week. We found support at that level over there. And, we are sort of starting to form this U-like structure on the daily chart, right? On the daily chart, we had this U-like structure that indicates more downside overall on the daily chart, right? We had this bull trap. um, we had this bullish push to this resistance level, and then we had this drop on Friday, right? So right now, sellers are in control, right? So then you look on the hourly chart, and one thing you got to notice about the drop is it was kind of weak. It formed weak structure, right? So I do think we need to catch bullish liquidity before, this thing could continue to move down, right? So on a 15-minute chart, we're looking for support, right? On a 15-minute chart, support would be down below this 1.32200 support and this trend line listed. So wait for sellers to become exhausted somewhere below there, to trade towards the overall buyer liquidity, which is at this level right here, if that makes sense, right? But you just want to play it by day. So wait for sellers to become exhausted. If you want to get out here, here, whatever. You guys are the trader, so you guys got to come up with your own targets, right? I just want to give you guys the tips, give you guys a better possibility to win these trades, but nothing is guaranteed in the game. So let's go, right? So that is GBPUSD. By the way, if you guys got any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram.com/ZERODRAWDREW. I'm more than happy to help any of you guys out because I got no life and I love this shit and I'd rather, help you guys win too. So let's get into it. GBPJPY. Similar from GBPUSD, we have this rejection to that U resistance on the daily chart that I talked about last week. If you want to go back, watch that, you can, right? So, similar story to GBPUSD. We had that big drop. It didn't really form much structure on the way down, so there is a possibility that we do move to buyer liquidity first before, we start to continue to move down. So one thing that I do notice is we have this crown-like pattern on the hourly chart, right? So we're going to go to the 15-minute chart because it's easier to read. One thing that I do notice, we got that crown pattern, as you can see, guys, right? So all seller liquidity is below this 150, 250 support and this trend line listed. So if price drops in the beginning of the week and we come back into value, look for buy opportunities up to buyer liquidity, which would be the trend lines and overall this resistance level right here. Now, if price pumps up in the beginning of the week, look for bull traps to that 159.80 resistance and wait for the short opportunity when we come back into the trend line value. Okay, very simple, guys. So that is GBPJPY. Last but not least, gold, similar story. Gold, we had that weekly impulse wave to the upside. On the daily chart, similar thing. We have that U-like resistance. All buyer liquidity is above that 1815 high. Seller liquidity is below the 1793 support level. So based on what happens in the beginning of the week, right? If price drops first and then we come back into value, look for the buy opportunity up to the levels listed. If we start to pump up, look for bull traps above that 1815 high, but don't short it until we come back into that trend line value, which would confirm the trade and it would give you guys the trade. So that is it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram.com/ZeroDrawDrew. Other than that, it's Christmas on Saturday, Christmas Eve on Friday. Like I said, minimize risk because these weeks are kind of hit or miss. You never really know what's going to happen with these holiday weeks. It could just kind of range all week because, you know, indecisive indecisive weeks. So, but if you're like me, if you're anything like me, and you really love this shit, and you need to wake up and trade, let's go for it, guys. Let's get it. We ain't taking fucking days off, guys. So make sure you like this, subscribe to the channel, keep us motivated to put this content out every day. Love you all. Merry fucking Christmas. Have a good day. Bye.